Recording in progress.
Olivia, you all set?
Yes, I'm recording.
Olivia, we good to go?
Yeah, you're good to start, Peter.
Can't hear you.
You're good to start, Peter.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Peter Basserman. I'm chairman of the Branford Inland Wetland Commission. I will now open the regular scheduled meeting of the commission. Today is August 13th, 2026. It's 7 o'clock. This evening's meeting will be conducted as a virtual meeting using the Zoom conferencing platform. It's being held in accordance with Connecticut's Public Act 22-3 and the Inland Wetland and Watercourses regulations for the town of Branford. Documents referenced during the meeting are available on the town's OpenGov portal and via the agency's webpage. Final agenda for tonight's meeting was filed August 11th and is posted on the town website. Links to the material related to tonight's meeting are included on the agenda. Branford Community Television is recording and broadcasting tonight's meeting. Their continued involvement greatly assists the Branford community's ability to learn about wetland and watercourse issues and increase awareness of town activity. As a reminder for those speaking at this evening's proceeding, please be conscious of positioning your camera so your face is visible on the recording. Also, to ensure a complete and accurate record, each time a statement or comment is made, the individual must announce his or her name before making that comment. This applies to any party wishing to participate. Those wishing to speak may use the raise your hand feature to indicate a desire to speak. And please consider muting your microphone when not speaking. This commission has the responsibility and authority to apply the Connecticut statutes and Branford's inland and watercourse regulations to matters it considers. Commission's role is limited to the protection, preservation, and regulation of inland wetlands and watercourses and any land use activities that would likely have a significant adverse impact on them. The commission cannot consider matters outside of those defined in our regulations, and no discussion on extraneous issues will be discussed. The commission seeks to apply those regulations consistently and uniformly in its considerations. We'll now take a roll call of the commissions on this evening's call. Commissioner, please indicate your presence when I call your name. Commissioner Goklowski.
Commissioner Goklowski, present.
Commissioner Wall.
Commissioner Wall, present.
Commissioner Boda.
Present.
And I think that's what we have. Commissioner Basserman present, so we have a quorum. We have now Inland Wetland Staff, Director of Planning and Conservation Development, Frederick.
Jamie Frederick, present.
And the Environmental Associate, Sandberg.
Olivia Sandberg, present.
Is there any commissioner seated tonight who was not in attendance at a meeting where the agenda item for discussion this evening is listed? Please indicate for the record whether you feel prepared to participate and vote on that item. Is there any commissioner seated that feels he or she must recuse themselves from any of the proceedings this evening? Hearing none, we'll move along to the approval of, does staff have any changes, additions, or deletions for tonight's agenda?
No changes.
Hearing no changes, we'll go forward for the approval of minutes. We have the July 23rd, 2026 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I'll move that we approve the minutes from our regular meeting on July 23rd, 2026.
This is Commissioner Wall. I second.
I had one, I guess, clarification question in the minutes where it says, sanctions. Which is item, 6B1. If we can clarify with a parenthetical expression after the word sanctions, that we're really talking about council approval, because we have defined what sanctions were. I think that's a direct quote from me on the motion, but just for clarification, what I'm looking to make sure was that we had the approval of town council. I assume, Jamie, we can update the minutes accordingly as just a clarification.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Goklowski. I move that we accept the addition that Chairman Bassman is corrected, put forward. I remember that conversation pretty clearly now, and I'm sorry I missed it in the minutes.
Is there a second on that?
This is Commissioner Wall. I agree with Commissioner Goklowski. I'm sorry I missed that in the minutes, and I second it.
No problem. Okay, we can take a roll call vote on the approval of the minutes. Commissioner Boda?
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Wall?
Commissioner Wall, aye.
Commissioner Goklowski?
Commissioner Goklowski, aye.
Okay, first up for this evening's meeting
Chairman, you
in
didn't
terms of applications.
Chairman,
We have inland 26-25, 17 Door Street, lawn expansion, which is a continuation of July 23rd meeting. This is a request to continue this until the next regularly scheduled meeting of the commission of
Chairman?
August 27th.
You didn't vote on the minutes.
I thought we did.
You didn't give your vote.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I approve the minutes. Thank you. Thank you for that, Olivia. And I guess we have no new information on 17 Door Street. Is that why we're continuing it?
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. So I will identify, I know that the owner has met with a landscape architect, and they expect to have the plan ready for the August 27th meeting. However, they have identified that their professional won't be available to attend August 27th. So they have since updated their request to continue it to the September 10th meeting.
Okay.
Assuming that the plan is comprehensive, I think that still gives them time to plant this fall, which is, I think, the main goal at this point. And as I know that they have had that conversation with their landscape professional. It's up to the commission. We've given a lot of extensions, but I think that reasonably the end is in sight. So if you would like the professional to be there, I would say that I would agree with the extension to September 10th.
Oh, this is Commissioner Bassman. I think it's always helpful when we have the people close to the work at the meeting. So I have no objection to continuing it. Does any commissioner feel differently?
This is Commissioner Boda. Given the current state of the site, are there any timely issues that should not wait that length of time that are actively direct harm with, say, for example, the kind of storms that we had, heavy rainfall and whatnot?
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I don't believe so. Mature trees were left alone, and the area disturbance has been vegetated and has herbaceous growth. Olivia's been on site, so Sandberg, if you have anything you'd like to add.
Olivia Sandberg, Environmental Associate. I have been on site. It's a very flat backyard, and the grass that is growing is well vegetated, so I don't have any concerns. On top of that, the wetland is not as far into the lawn as we would have thought with this new wetland delineation as well.
This is Commissioner Boda. Given there's no immediate concern, I would also agree it's better to have the expert on hand and postpone the review to, what did you say, the September, that second
September
meeting?
10th.
September 10 meeting.
Hey, next up, inland wetland 26-2640 Midwood Road, deep test pits and percolation tests. This is a little bit different kind of application than we've seen before. This is a continuation from July 23rd. Jamie, can you give us an update on this particular application?
For Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So the commission did have a site walk on this application on Monday. I did prepare a brief memo for the commission. Bear with me, I will pull it up. There was a lot of public interest in the application expressed to staff via email and also at the site walk. So I would suggest that the commission consider whether it's appropriate to have a public hearing. Share so that everyone can see.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Jamie, are we having a public hearing to decide whether or not we're going to allow them to do perk tests?
Well, that's the question. So let me kind of run through my memo because I think it kind of outlines what's before the commission. So just to kind of recap where we're at, I haven't been at the last two inland wetland meetings. So I was not at the July 9th meeting or so the application before the commission is for test pits, deep test pits and percolation tests, so that they can determine the feasibility for a potential future project. In the application, they identify potential pre-lot subdivision to see whether they can, how they can manage stormwater on site. So the application is an investigatory application for test pits and percolation tests. The information would allow the property owner to make informed decisions regarding the ability to manage stormwater on site. Currently, there is no application for subdivision or site development. Activity proposed is for temporary disturbance to be backfilled upon completion. The application was submitted July 1st. A brief project overview was provided to the commission at the July 9th regularly scheduled meeting, and the commission determined to schedule a site walk. That site walk was held this past Monday. So there was a lot of public interest, and I've copied section 9.1 of the regulations. Essentially, our regulation follows the state statute and states the agency shall not hold a public hearing on an application unless the agency determines that the proposed activity may have a significant impact on wetlands or watercourses. A petition signed by at least 25 persons who are 18 years of age or older and who reside in the municipality in which the regulated activity is proposed, requesting a public hearing, is filed with the agency not later than 14 days after the date of receipt of such application, or the agency finds that a public hearing regarding such application would be in the public interest. I'll kind of just skip down to the last part where I say if the commission does decide to hold a public hearing, it should be made clear that the hearing is for the activities outlined in the application at hand and how those activities will impact wetlands and watercourses. The commission cannot prejudge a potential future application. So with that identified.
And Jamie, this is Commissioner Boda. I want to clarify, just based on previous hearings, if we were to determine that this should be a public hearing based on public interest, we would not be, this application would not be subject to the prudent and feasible alternative requirement because we would not be identifying it as a significant impact. Is that correct?
Correct. In any application, the commission can request prudent and feasible alternatives if they feel that it's appropriate. It's not triggered as a mandatory requirement unless the agency has a public hearing based on the first requirement, which is a finding that there may be significant impact to wetlands and water sources. I will identify that in the application, 2 of the test pit locations are within wetland area on the site. They are lawn area, however, they are also within the delineated wetland.
This is
Commissioner
Commissioner
Basserman. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner Basserman.
I guess a reaction to Commissioner Boda's question. Since there are test pits in the wetland, it is not an alternative if we review it to have no test pit done within the wetland?
Potentially as part of discussion with the applicant, but I think that would be something you would find out through the review process.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I think you would have to have that discussion with the applicant.
Okay, within the context of the public hearing.
If you decide to have a public hearing, yes.
Right.
So the
Okay,
commission, just to let everyone, because we do have a couple members of the public present, and I kind of want to make sure everyone knows what's going on. If the commission does decide to have a public hearing, I would recommend that the bulk of the discussion be tabled until that public hearing is open, because we want to make sure that all of the evidence is on the record of that public hearing. So that's why I'm starting with the conversation about whether we want to have a public hearing prior to diving back into the review of the application.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Normally, when we have a public hearing, when we have a formal application and we are looking at the merits of that application, we don't have a formal application.
No, we do have a formal application.
But for test
The
pits
application is for test pits, so that's what it would be for,
Okay.
is for the review
So-
of the test pit activity.
So the only thing we're approving at this stage is allowing them to do test pits. But if they're in the inland wetlands, we can deny them those test pits and only allow them to do the test pits where they're not in the inland.
So, not quite that simple necessarily. You would have to, in order to deny an application, you have to identify what the unacceptable wetland impacts are. So, I don't want the commissioners to get into prejudging the application before them or a potential future application. You have to review the information, of the application. So, like I said,
Go ahead.
like I said previously, that would be part of the review of this application for you to determine whether or not those test pits were appropriate to move forward with or not.
But the whole part of the test pits is to see if they actually can move forward with a proposed project that we don't even really have a lot of information on. So our only purview right now is if doing test pits, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
This is
Is that-
Commissioner Boda.
Go ahead, Commissioner Boda.
Can we, I think that we need to, just thinking about our process and timing, if we could just have a conversation and make a determination based on the information. One, is this a public hearing? Yes or no? What is it based on? And then have the significant impact discussion. If we could maybe do that sequentially and start to move forward, because it feels right for that discussion. I think I'm ready for that discussion.
This is Commissioner Bosman. Does any commissioner feel that it does not warrant a public hearing? Okay, so step one, I think Commissioner Boda is behind us now. Looks like we're going to schedule a public hearing. Do we have to establish a date at this point, Jamie?
Well, so we still have to determine what the public hearing is based on, right? Whether it's the rationale, what's triggering the public hearing, whether it's public interest or if it's significant impact, or both. And if it's a significant impact, then if we determine that it's significant impact, then that triggers the required prudent and feasible alternative. If we do not trigger the public hearing based on it being a significant impact, but only that the public hearing is triggered because of public interest, then the prudent and feasible alternative analysis is not required. So before we pick a date, we have to identify what it is that is categorizing this application as needing a public hearing.
The date is not dependent on the determination of that, though, correct?
No, but I think it's warranted to make that consideration. Jamie Frederick and Warren.
Say again, a little longer.
I don't think the decision will change when we schedule the public hearing, but I don't see any issue with taking up the reason for the public hearing prior to the date for the public hearing.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Are we scheduled to hear from the applicant tonight? Are they in the meeting?
Well, I think they are at the meeting, Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent. So right now, the question is whether or not we're going to have a public hearing. Because if we're going to have a public hearing, it doesn't make sense to have a presentation on the application tonight
Okay.
because that needs to be on the record of the public hearing.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could certainly, if the commission felt it was appropriate, open the floor for them for a brief period of time. However, I really don't see what the point would be unless they have a clarifying question about the scheduling. I did touch base with the applicant and mention that if the commission were to have a public hearing, it would likely be scheduled for the September 10th meeting. It's the last meeting we can schedule it for without needing an extension of the time frame. And it's the earliest meeting we can notice it for in the newspaper. So that ultimately will be my recommendation, but I do agree we need to establish why the commission is holding a public hearing.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I think it's clear that there's a public interest. I don't understand how we wouldn't have a significant impact in the fact that we're digging test pits in the wetland. You know, as I understand it, 8 foot by 2 foot, using a machine in the wetland to dig that trench.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I'll also point out that it does have the word may have a significant impact. So you're not making a finding at this point that it will, you're just making a finding that it may. And then you would review that as part of your application review.
Well, this is Commissioner Boda. You said that that current area is a grassy area?
Correct.
So would it impact the natural channel or dynamics of a watercourse system? So I'm looking at significant, so just for commission's reference and anybody else who might be listening, I'm looking at the definition of significant impact in our regulations, which is definition UU.
Sure. It looks like you may not have the latest. One of us doesn't have the latest version of the regs.
I don't.
Copy.
And this is what's the effective date? My effective date is 2022.
Yeah, September 12th, 2024. If you would like, we can mail you a new paper
I need
copy.
a new paper copy, but mine is so prettily marked up. I'm gonna have to remove all my tabs. BV. This is Commissioner Boda. I mean, based on the definition, any impact involving deposition or removal of material which will or may have a substantial impact on wetland or water courses. I mean, you could make an argument, certainly. We don't know exactly what the hydrology is there, do we?
I think that's part of why they're doing their investigation.
Yeah. Anybody feel like making an argument for or against significant impact?
Commissioner Bassman, I mean, given the definition, and again, as staff points out, the word may is important here. We don't know anything until we get the presentation. We're going to hopefully hear that at September 10th when we have the public hearing. And at that point in time, we may determine it does not have a significant impact. But at this point, I think we have to err on the side of it. It may, and we need to review it.
This is Commissioner Boda. Jamie, what happens in that case? So say we're in the process of, so we've identified that an application may have a significant impact and therefore it has a public hearing. And that because it's triggered the significant impact box, it triggered the prudent and feasible alternative analysis. And then in the process of the application, we say, you know what, actually, we don't think it's going to have a significant impact. Does that then alleviate the applicant's responsibility to submit prudent and feasible alternatives? I don't remember anything like that happening
in the wetland agent. So I don't think it necessarily alleviates the need for them to submit the alternatives. I mean, and ultimately, the commission shall not approve an application unless they find that if the commission has a public hearing with a finding that there may be significant impact, the commission cannot approve the application unless they make a finding that there's no prudent or feasible alternative that would have less impact. That's, I think, the trigger. That's different.
Okay. So Chairman, we're ready. This is a triggering significant impact, may have a significant impact public hearing.
Yeah, do we need to take a vote on this, Jamie?
We should have a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'm on it.
Indicating the location and time and location.
You said September what? 10th?
My calendar. Yeah, September 10th, remote meeting held via Zoom.
Okay, this is Commissioner Boda. I will make a motion that inland wetland 2626 40 Midwood Road deep test pits and percolation tests be moved to a public hearing based on our regulation 9.1. We do have both public interest expressed to the commission, but also on the that there may be significant impact to the wetlands, and that meeting will begin September 10th and take place at the remote meeting held via Zoom.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, this Commissioner Bassman will take a vote on the motion made by Commissioner Boda, seconded by Commissioner Goklowski. Commissioner Wall,
Commissioner Wall votes aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Goklowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. So we will deal with 2626 on September 10th in the form of a public hearing.
And Jamie
Okay.
Frederick and the wetland agent, before we move on to the next item, I would just like to state if any members of the public have any questions about that process or you have any comments you want to provide, feel free to contact the inland wetland office either by phone or by email. We'd be happy to talk.
This is Commissioner Boda. Just we also have new commissioner. Just with public hearings, we don't get any information outside of the public hearing. So if it happens to make its way to social media or whatever, we just like that.
On your phone. Get on your phone. Because I can't hear them anymore.
This is Commissioner Wall. I have zero presence on social media.
Awesome. Or even in the grocery store, things happen. People get excited, and we just we don't talk about stuff.
Moving along, inland wetland 26-27, 16 East Industrial Road, car storage with associated fence and gravel. Request to continue this until our next regularly scheduled meeting on the 27th. The application fee is still yet to be paid, Jamie?
Correct.
Okay,
We're working with them on cross departments to make sure they have the right approvals lined up.
And,
Right permit applications.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Road. I just took a quick glance at it. It seemed like it might have also needed some.
They're
But
looking to, yes, talk with a professional as well, which is part of why things are moving a bit slower.
That's fine. What I saw in there was sparse, and
Yes,
they would be pummeled with
we've had
questions.
that conversation.
Awesome. Thank you.
inland wetland 26-28, 71 Hilltop Drive, construction of a single-family home. We're awaiting application materials and fee. Is that still the case, Jamie?
No, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, that is not the case. We have received the application fee. We received the site plan, I believe, Monday or Tuesday. I've not really had a chance to look at it fully. I will screen share the site plan so that we can take a quick look at it. I do want the commission to at least consider whether you want to schedule a site walk. I know that the applicants are looking to get this reviewed as quickly as possible because they are looking to hopefully start construction this year if they can. So let me just pull that up. And we do have the applicants present as well. So this is at the end of Hilltop Drive. The road kind of ends, and it's the parcel to the south of the road. If you continue through this right of way, it goes into Regional Water Authority and into the larger open space complex. I see that the applicant has their hand raised, so unless
Hi, Jamie. This is Kristen Butler with Derek. Something just happened with our phone. It's very hard to hear you. I don't know what just happened, but I just want to let you know that that's why the phone is to my ear.
Okay. So we have a site plan. They're proposing a 2-bedroom house. It would be serviced by well and septic. They're also proposing a garage with a driveway access for both the house and the garage. So this is currently an undeveloped parcel, new single-family house. Oftentimes the commission will schedule a site visit so that way you can have an understanding of what the property looks like. They do have stormwater calculations for management of the water quality volume. I do have a couple of questions about the means. We do not have stormwater calculations through the 100-year storm. So if that is something that the commission expects to see, I can certainly follow up the applicant, on that. So unless commissioners have any other specific questions about the application at this time, I would kind of jump back to that first question of, do you want to schedule a site walk?
This is Commissioner Wall. I read through the materials pretty carefully this afternoon, and I think a site walk would be really educational and beneficial for me if others feel similarly.
And just if I could, excuse me, Todd Anderson from Anderson Surveying LLC, 1575 Boston Post Road in Guilford. I am the surveyor of the project, and my engineer, Jonathan Bodwell, engineered this site. So if I could say a few words, I would appreciate that.
Can you just hold off on that for 1 second?
Absolutely. Yep.
Does any commissioner feel that this is not warranting a site walk?
No. Go ahead.
Should we try to do this the same week as our meeting? Is that availability look, and I'll touch base with Mr. Anderson in a minute, but does that work with the commissioners to schedule a site walk maybe the Tuesday before the meeting of Thursday? Which would be September 8th, I guess.
Do we not have a meeting on the 27th?
Oh, yeah, I got caught up with the September 10th issue.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That would be cool to not have a meeting on the 27th. It's the first day of school.
So the 25th for a site walk?
Me.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue, but it has to be closer to after 5 o'clock. I'm going to be out of town most of the day and driving back from New York.
We still have daylight, like
Yeah.
5:36, 5:45. Super close to my house.
Can't see.
I guess if that date works, does that date work for you, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, it does.
I see a hand raised. I'm not sure if that's the applicant. Yeah. Does that date work for your?
Hi, yes, that date does work. Is it okay? This is Kristen Butler again with Derek White. Can I say a few things about this land?
We're just trying to get the site walk figured out.
Yeah, the site walk is, if everything is good for the 25th, then we'll schedule a site walk at, does 5 o'clock work, Commissioner Golkowski?
Can we do 5:30?
5:30? Great.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, 5:30 on the 25th for a site walk. Mr. Anderson, I think you had some comments you wanted to get on the record here.
I can hold them off for the site walk, if you would prefer.
Well, so just to clarify, the site walk will be for orientation purposes only. So if you have comments or questions about information the commission will want, I think that now would be the time.
Okay. Yeah, let me give you my whole spiel. Todd Anderson again from Anderson Surveying LLC, representing Derek White on this property. I just want to put on record that, about 95% of the construction in producing this home and garage on this property is at the crest of a very steep hill, steep sloping to the south towards the wetlands, and then to the north towards Hillside Drive or the unimproved travel way of that roadway. And most of the construction impacts are on the north side of the property, away from the wetlands. We do show the silt fence down at the base of a moderate slope, at the top of a very steep slope to protect the wetlands. The silt fence is placed at 64 feet at its closest point to the wetlands. Quite honestly, he probably will not even be that close with his construction. His main intent of building this house on this piece of property is to preserve as much of the natural land as possible and cut down as little trees as possible. And, you know, yes, there will be blasting for the house. There will be blasting for the garage. But the septic system is on the opposite side of the top of the slope from the wetlands. The well, obviously, because the well radius has to be in proximity to the wetlands. I don't know the exact dimension, but it's about 85 feet, I think, from the wetlands. So we've tried to keep everything as far away from the wetlands and as far away from the steep slope as possible. We are constrained by the 40-foot building line because it is an interior lot. We do have the benefit of using the R4 standards instead of the R5 standards. The R5 would have created a 50-foot building line, which would have pushed the house and garage 10 feet further towards the wetlands. So we do benefit from that extra 10 feet there. So we've done this as minimal impact as possible on the wetlands review area. As shown on the plan, the house is at 98 feet. And I apologize, I do not have the dimension from the garage because as we were designing the driveway and the access to the garage, we had to pull the garage back another 5 feet towards the wetlands. But from the closest garage corner to the wetlands is 95 feet. So that dimension is not shown on the plans, unfortunately. That was a later revision by my engineer. So, you know, we are just within the cusp of your review area with the garage and the house and driveway and a little bit of grading and the well, of course. But in my opinion, it's not a major impact upon the wetlands. You know, as I stated, it is a steep slope about 15, 20 feet back from the proposed house and garage. It is a very steep slope down to the wetlands, and we are protecting that slope and not going into that as to not create any problems and any impacts on the wetlands. So this is about as conservative of a design as we can do on this site in order to accomplish this. And I should also state it is a very, very small 2-bedroom house, 37-foot diameter round house, which in this day and age, not many people build houses that small. So, you know, he is very conservative thinking of the impacts to the land and what he hopes to build there. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you on the site walk.
Mr. Anderson, this is Commissioner Boda. I'm happy to hear that, you know, the focus is on being conservative. I will, just as a commissioner who has been on this commission a long time and has seen many applications in this general neck of the woods. I will just share with you that the soil in this part of town is exceptionally erodible. And we've seen some pretty disastrous situations where even, you know, you've got your this line of disturbance up at the top of the slope, and we all know sometimes our engineered plans are not what happens on the ground. And then things get away from the plans, and property owners are left with a very expensive problem to fix. And so I just want to plant that seed with you now that, again, just as someone who has been on this commission for a very long time, I have seen that on more than one occasion where we have these beautiful plans, best intentions, and then it turns into a several year mitigation, replanting, constantly trying to stop an erosion problem, a slumping problem. I could go on, but I think that you are probably understanding my meaning.
I do understand you. And again, this is Todd Anderson. I do understand you. My client is in the building industry. He is a house restorer. He gets it. I've been friends with him for many years. I don't think that you will have that problem with him. And again, he wants to take down as little trees as possible. He is a tree hugger, and so is his partner. So I don't believe that that will be an issue, but I do understand your concerns, and I appreciate them.
Mr. Bassman, I'm glad we have a site walk scheduled to give us some good context as we look at this plan.
And just so I know, for the site walk, are you guys going to want to see any stakes as to where the proposed construction is and so forth? Or are you guys just going to be looking at the slope and the wetlands boundary?
Corners of the house, limit of disturbance should be staked out, please.
Will do.
And maybe where the septic. That's far away, but it'll be helpful for orientation purposes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent, just to kind of help make sure everything's staying on track. Is the commission going to want to see calculations through the 100-year storm for this project?
Commissioner Basserman, I would think,
one, yes.
given Commissioner Boda's comment about the soil and the storms that we've been having, I don't know why we would not want to see that.
I think it would be typical. I just wanted to get clarification because it does, the way the regulation is written, it says as required. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Inland Wetland 26-29, 89 Todd's Hill Road, construction of accessible parking spaces and walking trails, which is again a continuation of our July 23rd meeting. There's a fee reduction request. There's also a staff report on this application. Other than the staff report, is there any new information, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I believe we have revised plans since the last meeting and updated and or new maintenance plans. I was not at the last meeting, so Olivia might be able to answer with more confidence. But I believe that one of the biggest things that was discussed at the last meeting that has changed is the addition of the vegetated berm between the parking area and the wetland. And I see that we have a hand raised. Keith, are you representing this application? I also see that Bill Kenny has his hand raised, who I know is part of this application.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Whose
Um,
question are you answering first? There's two hands up.
Keith, are you here for the land trust application? I'm not sure who was just talking. All right, well, we're on the land trust application. Keith, do you have a question pertaining to this agenda item? If not, I'm gonna lower your hand for now. You can always re-raise it if there's something that you're trying to get addressed.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Where are
Bill
we at,
Kenny, do you
Jamie?
recognize Keith as being part of this agenda item?
I do not.
Keith, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're muted or unmuted. If you're not part of this application, I'd request that you wait until the item. If you have a question about when it's appropriate to ask your question, feel free to put a comment in the chat, but I would just request that it's a procedural question and not a content item. But the commission has to stick to their agenda.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Mr. Kenny, you had your hand raised.
Sure.
You wanna say a few words here?
Sure. Pleased to give a brief description of the changes that we made since the last meeting. And at the last meeting, we gave a full presentation. You had a lot of good questions, which we tried to answer, and I think we answered most of them. And one of the outstanding questions was a planting design for an area between the two proposed gravel parking spaces and the water course that's just to the west of it. So we just, and that gravel parking space is very, very level, but it does pitch gently in the direction of the water course. So we propose a low berm about 5 feet wide, 9 inches tall of soil, a good permeable soil. And it's a shady area there. So we're proposing some native woodland ground cover plants, Pennsylvania sedge, white wood aster, and fern. I'm forgetting off the top of my head now, but and then I know in the
Can you
staff
post the site plan, the revised site
they
plan?
sent it fern. I'm sorry.
Can you post the revised site plan?
Yes, I'll do. I need permission.
Or
Oh,
Jamie, can
sorry.
you?
I will give permission. Swear they change it every time.
No, they're always updating stuff. Yeah.
I think it should be, you should be good. If,
Saying only the host can share in this meeting.
does it have a request button that you can press? Share setting.
Can you maybe promote me to a participant or something? Oh, I am a participant, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's I'm not seeing a request option.
Olivia Sandberg, Environmental Associate. I just changed it, so you should be able to share your screen.
Great. Yes, I think it's going to work. Thank you. Let's just take a few seconds here. So this is substantially the same drawing that you saw last time, and what we did was if we zoom in here, this is the proposed 2 parking spaces. And we have added this low planting berm here. The water course, there's a pipe here under the road. There's a pipe, an existing pipe under the existing access drive. And the water course flows down like this through this pipe and then comes out of the pipe and goes under the road. So we're proposing this low vegetated berm. We added a cross-section sketch here and just show, so this is the parking space on the right, and then this low berm, and then the water course is off to the left. So we would plant this with the hay-scented fern, Pennsylvania sedge, and white wood aster. And otherwise, we made some clarifications on the drawing. There was previously, we had shown a retaining wall on the 2 sides of this because the topographic information we had was from LiDAR, was from the state GIS system, and it wasn't accurate in that location. But this area has already been carved out by someone in the past. So it's really just resurfacing it, putting in the gravel base and the stone dust surface. So that the retaining wall is not needed, and we're no longer showing that. So we show the planting in plan view. We added this cross section and cleaned up that topo and got rid of the retaining wall. The only other thing we did was in this area, based on a site walk that we had with staff, initially we had this path come and do a cutback to help deal with the grade. But there's a couple of mature trees in this area. So construction access was just going to come straight in. So it was decided that let's make the permanent path come straight in. And by doing so, it moves it further away from the wetland in this area. So we think that's a good thing. And this area is going to be disturbed for construction access in any case. So it puts the permanent access in the same location as that temporary access. So that's that. We reviewed the staff report, we're in agreement with it, and pleased to see some proposed conditions. And I didn't see anything that it all looked good. All the proposed conditions look good. It was a good request to, during construction, we might want to, or if needed, we certainly will do it. Like put hay bales across the driveway if there's a storm predicted, and before leaving the site, put hay bales there or something similar to help collect any sediment that might come down that driveway. That is an existing driveway. So that is, I think that's pretty much it. The request for the fee reduction that was submitted, there's a letter from the land trusts that was included with our initial application documents. I have a copy of that if you want to see that.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, anything to add?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I think that summarizes the changes. We do have the fee reduction to consider prior to making a decision on the application. And then Olivia prepared a staff report for this, that I kind of helped weigh in on, so we can share that. She would like.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Olivia, can you just briefly go through the staff report so that we can move this thing along?
Olivia Sandberg, environmental associate. Yeah, I could pull it up, or Jamie, if you have it.
I can screen share it.
Okay. Okay, so this application was for receipt September 9th, and then the commission reviewed it September 23rd. They submitted a fee waiver request, which the commission has not discussed yet, but they have paid the $60 deep fee, which is required, and then the total unpaid application fee is $3,456. So when the commission does decide whether or not to okay a fee waiver, it would be helpful if the commission identifies just how much the total fee is, which right now is $60 has been paid. Activity proposed with a wetland or water course. Technically, it is in a wetland and a water course. They have a boardwalk that they're proposing over a wetland and then a bridge over a stream, but that total is 351 square feet. Proposed activity, the dimensions of the bridge and the boardwalk are not specified in the application materials. But they did do there's a picture in the application of the bridge, what they're proposing to do. The wetland delineations from 2019. And then we have a landscape plan. You could probably skip over the site history. So we requested that the width and trail area be maintained be provided at the September 23rd meeting. Applicant specified that the trail would be 6 feet wide, and then during a site visit with staff, David McKay, who takes care of the Branford Land Trust property, specified that he would be maintaining 1 foot on each side of the trail. So I'm not sure if that information has changed, but that's the information that we have. And then a maintenance plan and a management plan has been submitted. So for erosion controls, those are all the same from the last staff report. And now we have a vegetated berm for the stormwater management. The vegetated berm, which is going to act as a curb, is provided on a site plan. Proposed plantings include a 1 gallon whitewood aster, Pennsylvania sedge, hay-scented fern, and then the number of the exact plantings aren't provided. For required inspections, we have a pre-construction meeting, initial erosion control inspection, planting inspection, final inspection, and then for possible conditions for consideration, the driveway off of Cherry Hill shall remain unpaved unless otherwise approved by the agency. Prior to the start of work, a construction drawing of the boardwalk and bridge with specifications shall be provided to the agency. If the width is 6 feet or less, plans shall be reviewed by the duly authorized agent. If the width exceeds 6 feet or the agent has concerns, plans shall be reviewed by the agency. So that's our way of kind of trying to move this forward. So essentially they'd identify that the width of the trail wouldn't exceed more than 6 feet, and then that they would manage 1 foot for the trail. And then sediment and erosion controls shall be used as needed across entrance of driveway.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I'll just point out for those that were not reading, that while the number of plants were not provided, the spacing is. So I think that we have the information needed for the planting plan.
And this is Bill Kenny. I could note that I'm proposing 15 of the Pennsylvania sedge, 15 of the aster, and 10 of the hay-scented fern for a total of 40 plants.
This is Matt Conti from Conti Company. We're the contractor. The boardwalk will be 55 by 6, and the bridge will be 18 by 6. And also, the required inspection, there is no clearing required. We will only be trimming some branches on one, maybe two trees, but no trees will be removed for the project. We are going around them.
Commissioner Bassman, the driveway that you talked about where you might put some hay bales if storms are predicted, how does that driveway deal today with significant storm events?
There is a culvert that goes under it, and as long as debris is removed, there's typically no issue. It doesn't appear that it comes into the road with sediment, from what I could tell. I don't see any sediment in the road. So our goal is to have silt fence to avoid anything going into the culvert areas as needed and keep debris out of the culvert.
Thank
Jamie
you.
Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I've been out there a lot over the last 5 or so years with development on either side. And I've been looking at the water courses in that area relative to impacts from development, and I've never noticed any issues relative to that driveway specifically.
And this is Matt Conti again. We have the structural plans for the bridge and the boardwalk that we could also provide you. We now have them.
Commissioner Bassman, any other comments, questions from the commission?
This is Commissioner Boda. Would we need to figure out the fee reduction before making a motion on this application?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent, yes. Yes, so that way you can determine whether the application is complete. I will also say that it is consistent with past practice for the commission to reduce the application fee for recreational trails. I think that particularly given that they're looking to make, well, this one's a little bit more involved. It's involved for the reason of making it accessible. So I think that's certainly something to take into consideration. I can screen share section 19.7 of the regulations. When I say 19.7, yes, I do mean 19.7. Which is the criteria for granting a fee reduction. I can also screen share the letter where they outline their reason. So the commission essentially may waive all or part of the application fee if the agency determines that A, the activity applied for would clearly result in a substantial public benefit to the environment or to the public health and safety, and that the applicant would be reasonably deterred from initiating the activity solely or primarily as a result of the amount of the application fee, or B, the amount of the application fee is clearly in excess in relation to the cost of the town for reviewing and processing the application, or C, the applicant has shown good cause. The applicant shall state upon the record the reason for granting the reduction.
If I may, this is David McKay, manager of the maintenance crew for the Land Trust. I just wanted to clarify that the edging of the trail will be in the range of about 2.5 feet, not 1 foot on each side of the trail, as I will be using a brush cutter to edge the trail on a monthly basis during the growing season. And the schedule for that may change as we see how it goes over the next year or two.
This is Commissioner Bass. Thank you, Mr. McKay. Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, this is a request. It says for reduction. However, in the staff report, it looks like there's a waiver request. Have we, in the past, with other land trust projects, completely waive the Schedule A and disturbance fee?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yes, in the past, it has been the commission's practice to waive or reduce the application fee down to the $60 deep fee. The $60 deep fee is a mandatory state fee that we cannot waive.
Right.
So we always require that. But I think it's pretty consistent with past practice to reduce the fee to that for trail establishment.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Does any commissioner feel that, given the nature of this project, that the Schedule A fee and the disturbance fee should not be waived?
No.
We have to vote on this, correct, Jamie? On the fee,
Yes.
on the fee reduction?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, the commission should make a motion, and it should state the reason for granting the fee reduction.
This is Commissioner Boda. I make a motion to reduce the fee of inland wetland 26-2989 Todd's Hill Road construction of accessible parking and parking spaces and walking trails, based on our, I think my reg numbers are incorrect. Yeah, no, 19.7. And that the agency can waive part or all except for the deep fee in the event of substantial public benefit to the environment. And as this is providing public access, I think that this meets that criteria, as well as it does align with our past practice for providing access to open space.
This is Commissioner Gopolowski. I second that motion.
Any further discussion or amendments? Okay, Commissioner Gopolowski, how do you vote?
Commissioner Gopolowski, aye.
And specifically, we're dealing with the fee reduction motion here. Commissioner Wall?
Commissioner Wall, aye.
Commissioner Boda?
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Now, do we need a separate motion for the application itself, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, yes.
This is Commissioner Boda. I will make a motion that we approve inland wetland 26-2989 Todd's Hill Road for construction of accessible parking spaces and walking trails, based on the staff report dated, where's it? So 8/13, revised 8/13. And that it include all of the items enumerated under possible conditions for consideration, such as the required inspection, the standard conditions, as well as the general provisions in the issuance of all permits.
Commissioner Gopolowski, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All right. Commissioner Wall, how do you vote?
Commissioner Wall, aye.
Commissioner Boda?
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Gopolowski?
Commissioner Gopolowski, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye.
Thank you.
Jamie Frederick
Looks like a worthwhile project.
and the wetland agent. So it was brought to my attention that the person that was trying to speak was a representative for the owner of the previous application, and I indicated that I would request if we would go back so that the owner could provide a brief statement regarding 71 Hilltop. I think they may have left the meeting, though. I'm not seeing them on the call at this point. So
I don't see him listed.
I think with that, we can stick to the agenda.
Okay. Inland Wetland 26-31, 26 North Main Street, Unit 7, manufactured home. Even though we're waiting for the fee, are we still waiting for the fee? Yes,
Yes,
but the clock has started, correct?
correct.
Is there?
Does that mean we're
anyone
moving
here-
on because it's an incomplete application?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
just-
no presentation this evening. I expect that we'll have the application fee paid and a representative present at the next meeting.
Okay. Item 5, applications for receipt. You said possible agent approval, pardon me, Inland Wetland 26-33, 155 Ivy Street, Unit 9. You say a possible agent approval. Does that mean we need to review this briefly?
I don't think we have to review either of the applications for receipt at this time.
Okay,
I think it's as possible because we were requesting additional information and contingent upon what that information contains.
great. All right, let's move right along to enforcement then. Cease and correct 25-1201, 2333 School Ground Road. Removal of the vegetation adjacent to the watercourse and the filling and grading within the upland review area without a permit. Continuation of a show cause hearing from July 9th, 2026. We had a site walk on this item. Let's see, who do we have here for this enforcement action? Mr. Logan.
Mr. Logan is here. Good evening, everyone. So just to give you an update as to what is happening, we have had a communication by the town engineer who has reviewed the preliminary plan that you folks have also looked at as of the last time, which showed that we took the previous activities out of the floodway and a substantial amount of activities out of the floodplain, with some floodplain fill remaining. And the engineer said that he needed to see that last piece, which is the compensation for whatever cubic yards would remain in the floodplain. And as soon as we can get them that plan, he would review it so that we can have his tacit approval that the plan would meet his requirements. So we don't run amok with that before we discuss things with this commission. Here's one thing, though, that I needed to discuss with you folks tonight and sort of ask which way you would want to go. So arguably, there will be, let's make an assumption, there will be something in the order of, say, 100 cubic yards of fill remaining within the floodplain that then has to be compensated in the flat area. There's two ways of doing it. In view of the fact that we also need to restore the wetland, which I had put a previous plan in, but when all the other requirements for the floodplain regulations came in view, that is now null and void. So there's two potential options. One is to restore the wetland in situ, which means I'm not excavating it. I'm not proposing any excavation within the delineated wetland. Just what we had said before is, the removal of wood chips and planting. And then, as you might recall from the first plan, there was a slight extension or enlargement of that wetland at more or less the same elevation, but outside of the limits of the wetland in a sort of northerly and northwesterly direction. And I don't remember how much that was, but we weren't taking a lot of soil out of that area, just enough so we could be at the similar elevation, have the proper hydrology, and increase the wetland. And that was in order to give back some wetland based on the fact that we probably had impacted some wetland under the fill. That might not be enough to satisfy the flood storage compensation. I might need more. So the other option would be to completely reconstitute the existing wetland through excavation of the wetland, which then now becomes a wetland disturbance of several hundred square feet, and an extension to the northwest. So I could propose both alternatives if you thought that was the best way to go. With two different plans, one would be basically a wetland restoration and then mitigation outside of the limits of the delineated wetland, because we do have some room there. And the other one would be a complete rehabilitation of the existing wetland plus an extension, depending on how much volume we'd have to provide for the flood storage compensation. So that's the major question that I have for the commission tonight.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Mr. Logan, is the disturbance area the same for both of those proposals?
No, for the first proposal, I would not be excavating within the existing wetland footprint. I would just be removing the wood chips and seeding and planting. Under the second proposal, I would excavate within the wetland to create a little bit more storage. So say a foot and a half, something like that. It would still be a wetland, obviously. Matter of fact, it would be a wetland that had a hydro period that's a little wetter, because it would be able to maintain some. Right now, if you recall, what happens is when that water from that pipe or the water precipitates directly on the wetland, it has a way that it basically flows out as a gentle slope and goes out to the river. Under the second option, that will still happen during larger storms, but there would be a seasonal flooding or a temporary flooding that will be accommodated within the excavated portion within the existing wetland. And then, of course, that would extend potentially outside of the wetland within an upland area.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Does the proposed retaining wall move at all with the revised plan?
No, I think we haven't moved that at all. That's where it has been before, basically a foot outside of the floodway area.
So the proposal would be to leave it in the same location with it terminating in the delineated wetland?
Right at the edge, correct. I see what you're saying, Jamie. It looks like we're a foot or two into the delineated wetland. I suppose I could ask Brian, our engineer, if he can redo that and pull that completely out, because that would be a permanent.
Yeah, I think that is, when you're looking at those options, if you can also look at keeping the retaining wall and the grade, the slope there out of the wetland area, that would be something the commission would be looking for.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
And I don't want to distract the commission from your question about whether they have any preference as to whether the compensatory storage is in or out of the wetland area. But I do also just want to make clear that if there's a proposal to leave some of the fill material and to establish a retaining wall, an application for regulated activity needs to be submitted. And I would encourage that application be submitted as soon as possible, ideally before our next meeting, unless you want to make an argument for the first meeting in September. But I would suggest
I would
August
leave,
26th.
hold on. When is the next meeting, George Logan?
The next meeting is August 27th. So if you submitted an application on the 26th, it would be for receipt at the 27th. But I do also respect that there are, a lot of things that go into a plan. But we also have been going at this for a while now.
We can, George Logan, for the record, we can certainly try. Some of that has to do with myself being extremely busy still. And second is, make sure we have enough time for the town engineer to review and comment. So if it's okay with the commission to punt this one more meeting into September, that might be beneficial.
Is on this Commissioner Bassman, on your question of choice, Plan A and Plan B, is there any difference in terms of preparation time between the two plans?
George Logan, for the record, preparation for me?
Yeah, for preparing the information for the commission.
Honestly, not. All I would have to do is to sketch the two options for our engineer to then draft onto the plan. That shouldn't take me long at all. I mean, it's a limited area, and I already have a lot of that information has already been drafted from, I would just have to populate my tables and my narrative that I had from before to accommodate the two versions.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I would point out that if you're looking to provide storage in the wetland, I would say that that's a proposed activity and would be a regulated activity. And as such, the Schedule A fee would apply to that area of disturbance. So that's something the applicant may want to keep in mind.
You mean if we go into the wetland?
Yeah, so if you're doing more than just restoring the wetlands, I think then that would probably be viewed as a regulated activity because you're looking to create storage for something that you're looking to do elsewhere on site. So the corrective action to restore the wetland would fall under the cease and correct order. However, any additional activity proposed in that wetland would be reviewed under our regulatory process and would have the appropriate fees applied.
I think my client is online, so he's listening.
This is Commissioner Basserman. I guess your question of either or both, it's kind of hard to decide either or when we really don't have the benefit of the details associated with either A or B. So my I guess preference would be to do both, and we can decide which has greater benefit and greater protection of the wetland when we review the plan at the next time.
I certainly can do that.
Any other comments for the commission that might be helpful to Mr. Logan as he prepares?
This is Commissioner Boda. I think just in the discussion of the two options, you talked about storage, but I'm wondering if there's other points of comparison that might be useful, thinking about different ecosystem services that might occur in that wetland with either Plan 1 or Plan 2 that might give us a better sense of why we would choose one over the other.
Yes, certainly. I think that would be a good thing for me to provide in a narrative form, sort of a retrospective functions and value analyses, if you will.
Yes.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. And to that end, if it's shown that there's a reason for there to be a preference for the activity to occur in the wetlands, then there might be room for that, a fee reduction in association with that activity, relative to section 19.7, as we were just looking at with our previous application. It can be shown that it's going to have an ecological benefit.
We can certainly do that.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Are we still debating whether this is going to be ready for the August meeting or the first September meeting, or has that been determined? I think Jamie, you were looking for anything at the next meeting.
The next meeting would be ideal. However, I do understand these things take time, and I also understand it takes time for the commission to review continuing items. So, I would maybe suggest that we require an application and all materials for the application and the cease and correct order to be submitted no later than September 8th. That way the application be for receipt September 10th, and there'd be a little bit of time to look at the materials prior to the meeting. That'd be my recommendation, unless any commissioners feel differently.
Is Commissioner Bassman, you're comfortable with that, Mr. Logan?
Yes, George Logan, this will be very nice because the week leading up to the 27th, I'm preparing for my son's wedding. So the last one out of the nest. Thank you very much. And so we're going a little crazy.
You should have led with that.
I forgot about it, and I probably felt.
Don't tell him that.
I felt the evil eye from my wife from the other room.
Okay. See you in September.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Cease and correct, 260501, 55 Meadowwood Road, clearing of vegetation in the upland review area, show cause, hearing continue from June 11th. Is this you, Jamie, or is this you, Olivia?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So we have received a planting plan. I believe we still have the property owner on the call. I saw him earlier. I don't know what happened in my participant window. I can screen share the plan, and I don't know if the property owner, do we have the professional? If they want to give a brief overview of where they're at, what they've submitted.
And who was on the call for this item?
I believe we have Mark Stout. I think they just left.
Maybe they were having tech issues.
Yeah, let's give them a minute to see if
and
they log back in.
I've been there. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
I can't. I can't unmute. I can't anything. There it is.
Mr. Stout, welcome back.
And I apologize, I'm off video. I went to go turn it on and accidentally X'd out of the meeting. I apologize.
No problem.
You guys hear me now?
We can.
Okay. So sorry, as soon as you guys mentioned my address, I went to go click and I exited out, so I missed whatever was talked about before now. So I'm sure you guys have questions, or should I
Not
just
too
kick it off?
much. We just pulled up the plans and identified that you logged out and we're hopefully logging back in.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Do commissioners remember
so
this topic? Do you need a recap before we dive into the proposal?
Recaps are always
Recap would be helpful.
super
Yep.
helpful.
All right. Mark, do you want to provide one, or do you want me to kind of set the stage and then hand it over to you?
Completely up to you. You
Why don't
do this a
you
lot more
give it a
often than me,
go?
so whatever you think. Okay. So we removed some trees, and then I found out that I probably should have done this first and come here. So we paused, and since then and they were in the upland review area. So since then we contracted with Michelle Ford from EcoMaps LLC, who's a professional wetland scientist, to come up with a restoration plan. So she submitted a very detailed plan that Olivia updated in the Dropbox for the commission to review. She had a couple site visits here first to see what we had done, and then come up with her plans, and then met back here again with both Olivia and Heather to review the plans. Essentially, the restoration plans are 4 steps moving forward. It's to remove the remaining dead trees for safety concerns, and then use the existing wood chips to create a berm where the current silt fence is, followed by the planting schedule that's in the Dropbox, and includes 70 native plants and shrubs and trees. And after the plantings are done, to spread the wetland and conservation seed mixes over any disturbed soil. And Michelle couldn't make it tonight, but I was here to present the plan and field any questions, and hopefully answer all questions that you might have. And if not, I can certainly follow back up with her tomorrow.
This is Commissioner Boda. You said the dead trees, are there dead trees that are still on site?
Yeah,
There are, yeah, they're all tagged and pictured. Thank you, whoever is bringing that up.
Yeah. Okay, so and the plan is to do what with them?
Cut them down and remove them. In the plan, it says to leave the stumps and remove the trees, and I think that is because it's so dense where they are that the thought was they would cause more harm if we drop them than if we remove them. But obviously, if the commission thinks differently, we can drop them into the wetlands. But I know Michelle's thought was that removing them would cause less disturbance, but leaving the stumps.
Yeah, I tend to agree to just but and when you say stump, so this is Commissioner Boda. There's what I perceive to be a stump on the left, just to the left of that. When property owners have felled trees, this is in the wetland, or this is upland of the wetland?
I think there are, the other map shows it a little better. Let me pull it up so I don't misspeak on the quantity. But I think they're in the upland except for 3. So where the plant, yeah, that means there shows where they are in relation to the wetland. So the yellow line delineates the wetland. So there's 2 in, and the rest are in the review area.
So Commissioner Boda, so those 2, and this is me. I'm just speaking for myself. Those 2, in the past, we've looked to property owners to cut them at around 6 to 8 feet and not stump them all the way down, because they are providing valuable services within the wetland. And
okay, that makes sense. Essentially, the ones that are the rest that are in the upland, they can go leave the stump, but those 2 leave 6 to 8 feet.
Yeah, or 3. Is that a third that's in the wetland?
Yeah.
This one's behind the silt fence, but I think it's outside of the wetland area.
Yeah, that image, that's the silt fence you're seeing, not the wetland line.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, and then anything
other
that
one.
comes down can be just left in place. Back in that area. All that carbon is really super handy and gets reused. And nitrogen.
For all of the trees or the ones that are in the wetland?
Can you pull the map back up? What was the green hashed line? What are we looking at?
I think this was the original approved limits of disturbance from when the house was constructed. There was lawn area there was previously a house on the spot that extended further back, probably about to this location in here, probably a little overgrown at one point. So this, this black and white line is where the silt fence is installed on site currently, I believe. So again, if we go to these, pictures, these are, I think, the two trees in the wetland area. These are the two right behind the silt fence. And then this is the one that's right in front of the silt fence.
Yeah, so all of that, I mean, I think this is Commissioner Boda going back to that limit of disturbance. I mean, that was the purpose of that, is for it to be left in a more wild state and less manicured. So yeah, I brush is good. Underbrush is good. It's helpful.
This is Commissioner Bassman, and the red X's depict what?
The dead trees that they're looking to remove.
Standing dead.
Correct.
Next.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I do think that cutting, leaving the ones in the wetland as snags, cut, at a height of 6 to 8 feet is pretty common with the commission's past practice as far as removal of trees without a permit. So I think that that's consistent. And I think it's also consistent for the commission to have that wood stay, in the wetland, kind of mimicking as much as possible a natural fall. Obviously, the way trees are cut doesn't exactly happen, but again, just as much as possible mimicking that natural fall. And not just having a massive pile of, wood in the middle of the woods.
Right.
I think that the planting plan is very comprehensive. It's got a lot of native plants that we like to see. I like, there's the seed mix proposed. I do think I might just have one question for you, Mark, and I'm sorry I have not reached out and talked to you about this previously. But I do know that there was historically an issue with some of the drainage over on this side. My understanding, there's a little bit of an issue now, and I think it has to do with the amount of wood chips, and I understand that the wood chips will be thinned. Do you anticipate any issues or need to make modifications beyond the movement of the wood chips? Or is
when we
that
met
all
on
that you
site,
think you need
Michelle had talked. I'm sorry. When we met on site, Michelle had talked about that, and I know she was planning to add it in the proposed plans. I didn't see it in there, but that kind of water buildup happened before the wood chips, and the plan was to route it so it can flow better, because currently it is a little stagnant.
So I would just say, if you are looking to reroute it, that's something that you should definitely submit for review prior to doing that work.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Is there a monitoring plan that's also been submitted?
There is, I believe the planting plan does not include a monitoring plan. But it is consistent with the commission's past practice to require that the area be monitored for 3 to 5 years. Oftentimes you require 5 years, can be reduced to 3 if you receive 3 years of reports demonstrating success. With success typically being at least 85% survival of the plantings, and management of invasive species. And it does say in here, established maintenance, talks about watering, talks about wood to burn, talks about invasive plants should be controlled using hand pulling and cutting. It doesn't go into the monitoring reports, but that is the standard practice for the commission to require those monitoring reports, similar to the restoration plans, or if somebody got permission to make the disturbance in the first place. So if the commission wanted to act, felt that it was appropriate to act on this evening, I would probably make a recommendation that the commission approve the provided planting plan and require monitoring for 5 years, could be reduced to 3, with success standards of 85% survival and management of invasive species. Monitoring reports to be submitted to the Wetlands and Water Courses Agency annually. And then if you wanted to condition the fact that the wood stay on site and or that trees be cut as snags, that should be specified as well. So I guess the one thing would be, I don't know how pressing of an issue that drainage is, and I don't exactly know the location of it. Is this something that we should continue so that the drainage issue can get addressed, Mark, do you think? Or is it something that you would rather handle separately?
I think so. Michelle already saw it.
I mean, it's really not part of this
had
season,
an
correct? So to speak. So I think personally it might be better handled separately, but
Okay.
sorry for thinking out loud.
No, yeah, that's fine. If she already had an idea that was very simple, like just it wasn't much. You tell me. I mean, I can review that with you all on site again, or just have her put in an email a little more detailed for you guys to review or whatever you need.
Yeah, why don't you have her send the staff an email and we'll review it and let you know if it has to go to the commission or not.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Bassman. So Jamie, we are essentially continuing season correct 260501, and yet I thought you said we would want to approve the planting plan as submitted.
Yeah, so at this point, I would probably recommend that you essentially uphold and modify the order because we do require the 5 years of monitoring. And so basically the modification would be to approve the planting plan provided with any modifications such as the snags, leaving the wood on site, and the requirement for monitoring for 5 years can be reduced to 3, assuming that the first 3 years reports are submitted on time and show success with the standards, which are 85% survival and management of invasive species. I can try and quickly type it all out for somebody if that would be helpful. I should have typed it out before the meeting.
Michelle Ford.
Thanks. approve the plan given with um you could also require that planting, I don't know, and this might actually be in the report, I can't remember, occur in the fall.
Yeah, it's all in the proposed plan.
The, trees in the wetland, at a height feet to create snags. Wood from tree removal now be left on site to the extent possible. Minute. Cool. Planting shall be monitored for 5 years. To ensure management of invasive things. Oh. It reports annually in the fall. The first 3 reports are submitted timely and document success. Invasive. And survival. May be reduced to 3 years. Did I get everything that the commission?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Boda. And we're not gonna do a planting bond for this.
We don't typically do a planting bond on enforcement.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit open-ended on whether or not we can.
Okay.
I mean, 70 is a lot of trees or shrubs.
A lot of them are shrubs, and I think some of them are herbaceous, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But
Okay. This is Commissioner Boda. I will make a motion that we uphold and modify the cease and correct on 260502 17 Door Street. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Sorry, everything just jumped around really fast. Okay. And that we
for a minute, I think you're reading the wrong one.
Yeah. Anyone interrupt you? Yeah, it's 260501, 55 Meadowwood.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Oh no, we have another one. Sorry. Cease and correct 260501 55 Meadowwood, that we're gonna uphold and modify the order to approve the plan prepared by Michael Ford dated July 31st, 2026, with the following understandings and modifications, that the plantings occur in the fall of 2026. Thank you for making that bigger. The trees in the wetland be cut at a height of 6 to 8 feet in order to create snags. Wood from the tree removal shall be left on site to the extent possible to mimic natural fall, and that the plantings shall be monitored for 5 years to ensure management of invasive species and at least 85% survival of plantings. Reports shall be submitted annually in the fall. And if the first 3 reports are submitted timely and document success with invasive species management and survival, monitoring may be reduced to 3 years by the commission.
Is there a second on that motion?
Commissioner Gokowski, I'll second that motion.
Any additions or further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Gokowski, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Wall,
Aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Okay. Any, and then this Commissioner Basserman, Jamie, what's the expectation regarding the drainage issue? A separate application?
I'll follow up with the property owner on that and we'll
Okay.
bring it back to the commission if it's warranted. It depends on how much of a modification it is.
Okay. Cease and correct 260502 17 Door Street, clearing of vegetation in the upland review area. This is a continuation from July 23rd, which has been requested to, again, continue until the 27th. And I guess we talked about 17 Door Street previously, so we can move on. Cease and correct 2606.
Just identify real quick that we're actually continuing it to September 10th. Or the previous.
Oh, okay. Forgot that. Cease and correct 260701, 329, 349, 355 East Main Street. Contaminated stormwater discharge into the wetlands. This is a continuation of our July 23rd show cause hearing. I know the site's been visited. Can Jamie, you provide, or Olivia provide the commission with an update of those visits?
Sure. Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So dates and times are hard at this point. But last week, I believe it was on Thursday. Last week, Heather and I both went out and met with the property owner and some other representatives to discuss site status and where things were. We have received a plan regarding how to mitigate styrofoam impacts, and we've also received a memo outlining the changes in the site plan from what was originally approved by the commission. We've also received a report from the wetland scientist regarding the impacts of the activities to the wetland areas. All of those things have been uploaded to the Dropbox. Heather was able to review the styrofoam containment plan prior to going on vacation, and she was satisfied with that plan. When we went out on site, things were looking a lot better, both from sedimentation and erosion control standpoint and from the styrofoam containment standpoint. So we do have the soil scientist present. I believe we may have the property owner present if I saw that correctly. And I'm not sure if we have anyone else present this evening. So I'm not really sure where the commission wants to start. I wasn't present at the previous meetings where this was discussed. So I don't know if there's something in particular that jumps out at you that you want to start with, or if you just want to start off with hearing from the wetland scientist.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Boda. Just an internal wetland, Branford Wetland Commission question. I'm wondering why all of this is in the Dropbox and not in the town, because this is one of our newer applications.
Yeah, so we don't have enforcement actions in OpenGov from a public standpoint. Which we could talk about at another time if the commission would like to talk about our practices and how we use OpenGov.
Yeah. The OpenGov is nice in the way that it
yeah,
there's just some logistical pieces that make the OpenGov a little bit, once we start using it, it makes
Yeah.
it really nice that I think you can't mimic with necessarily nomenclature, which I think,
I think part of the thought process was whether or not we wanted to make enforcement actions something that people could look up from home. But if the commission would like for us to put them in OpenGov and process them that way, we certainly can.
Okay. Thank you. I was just curious.
Commissioner Basserman, do other towns use OpenGov for both?
You know what? I'm not sure. The one thing that I would say is, well, I don't want to get too much into it, so maybe we'll put it on the agenda for another time.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess why don't we, this is Commissioner Basserman, why don't we start with the soil scientist and go from there?
Yes, good evening. My name is Sagan Simcoe. I'm from BL Companies. I'm the soil scientist and wetlands scientist that has been associated with this project. I can share my screen to show some photos if you'd like. That might help out a little bit. Can you see my screen? Oh, maybe it
No.
Let's see here.
Not yet.
Share. Okay, that should do it. Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is the area that I looked at back on Monday, August 3rd. Basically, I started here in the southern part of the edge of the wetland here, just looking to see how the silt fence was looking. It looks fine everywhere until you get to about this area, and I apologize, this is an older aerial image. It doesn't show the new construction. But approximately this area here, I was able to view the sediment and some styrofoam was in the wetland area. It was able to penetrate the primary silt fence and the secondary. This is the secondary silt fence here in this bottom photo. So you can see sediment and some styrofoam have entered a little bit more deeply into the wetland. So my basic recommendation was to have crews go in using hand tools to remove the excess sediment and any styrofoam that they can, feasibly. I don't think you'll ever get every little speck of styrofoam, but remove the majority of the sediment and styrofoam from the wetland, and to repair the silt fencing, and to also install some straw bales on the work side of the primary silt fence. So basically right along this area here. So that way it can slow down the stormwater running off the site. I think that would greatly help prevent this from happening in the future, because this seems to be somewhat of a common or a recurring occurrence here. So I think we really need to beef up the E&S controls, especially in this area of the construction site. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it, if you have any questions.
This is Commissioner Boda. Are you someone going to continue with the styrofoam that has left the site, and is this step one, or are you going to talk about the prevention of the styrofoam kind of maybe moving in an airborne fashion? Like, I don't know how far it carries. That was not discussed in the application, but clearly it mobilizes in a way that was not discussed with us and is having an impact.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, what I can see was that the majority of the styrofoam entering the wetland was through stormwater. As far as what is getting into the wetland via air, I really can't speak to that. So go ahead.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I believe um, uh, Officer Grinnell spoke at the last meeting, and she explained that the styrofoam was caused from them not covering the side of the area where they were spraying the insulation inside the building. And I believe that's what was discussed last time. And from what my understanding is, they were requested to make sure that if they plan on doing that further, they were supposed to have the open area of the building closed or with a cover tarp going down the side of the building. And I believe that's how the styrofoam got in that area.
Yeah, and you can see from this photo, and I was not present for that exact discussion, but you can see in this photo that they have wrapped the entire site with this black tarp around the scaffolding to presumably prevent that scenario from happening again.
Hello, everybody. This is Sandro from Mengadas Construction. We are in charge of the eaves part. We are, as we would discuss that in our last meeting on site. We did cover the scaffold, but I gotta tell you that we didn't cover the top of the scaffold because we were towards the end before some of the styrofoam got into the wetlands, as you saw in the pictures. So we did not rasp after those, I mean, like in the past 2 weeks anymore. But we have a plan for the next areas. We are bringing more green net, which that green net is meant to contain like almost 99% of the styrofoam. And we're putting some weight against the ground at the bottom of the scaffolding. And on top of that, this time we're going to cover over the top of the scaffolding just in case some wind is going to blow up and this doesn't happen again. On top of that, as we put on the plan, is on the presented plan that we sent over the email is I gave the guys more vacuums and more tools to vacuum. I told them as soon as you rasp, go down, clean as soon as you rasp. We were not doing that. I gotta be honest with you. So after we receive all these requests from you, from your offices, we start paying more attention to it. And yeah, my apologies for what happened, but we are really trying to make this the right way. And if there is any more recommendations that will make this situation better than what we're doing, we are open to do it. Or we don't want anything else to go any further, or any styrofoam particles to go to the wetlands anymore. So that's why we were trying to contain as much as we can. We were putting weight against the floor with and we're gonna cover the top too. And we close more the connections in between each layer of green netting too. Before that, the other thing too was that we were using a black netting, and at least 10% of the styrofoam particles were getting out with the wind. That's why we switched to the green netting, which it has more narrow holes in it.
This is Commissioner Besserman. How much more styrofoam activity is planned during the construction?
So we have the last part, which is the 30% of the building. That's the scaffolding is going to be erected on the next week, and then we will be covering the entire scaffold again, topping everything all the way around with the green netting. So if you want, you can come before we start rasping the phone. And if you have any concerns, we can go over that, or whomever wants to come and help us check so we are on the same page. I can meet you there. We can go some, over some details, or say if you have any concerns, or you will say, hey, I think this is going through here or something. We can do that too, because as I say, I don't want to cause any problems. This is something that happened, but we are trying to really address it.
And I just want to be clear, that's the last building where the styrofoam is going to be applied?
No, that's the last part of this building, but we have the other building that is against the wetlands. But as I said, that when we started this building, we didn't cover as good, and we were cleaning as usually doing in other places. But after we received these notifications from we received the notifications, we start cleaning more often, and we cover with the black netting. But since the styrofoam was still getting out, we switch it. So the next building is going to be all green netting, all contained, all covered, and the last building, same thing. So we're going to try to enclose more carefully now and encapsulate the whole building so this doesn't happen again. And that's the goal. And cleaning more often, have the guys with the vacuums around checking every time after rain, especially because the rain sometimes, if styrofoam particles get trapped into the netting, sometimes with the drain goes down to the ground. So after it dries, I told the guys, my foreman, to pay very, very good attention to it. So after it started to dry, we can, start getting all the particles on the ground as much as we can before the rain comes and drags it to the perimeter of the land.
This Commissioner Bestman, I think a question was raised by Commissioner Boda about the downstream effect. Is there any sense of what accumulated downstream?
This is Sagan Simcoe again from BL Companies. As far as what accumulated downstream, there was a very little amount of styrofoam that actually made it into the wetland, especially even past what I call the secondary silt fence. But nothing got into any flowing water or anything to move, appreciably further into the wetland or further off site. It's everything is within, I'd say, 10 feet of the actual work zone, the primary silt fence. So there's not much that actually got deeper into the wetland. And what I was able to see, I think, could be easily removed by hand with hand tools.
What this is Commissioner Boda. Was it removed? Because those pictures look like there was styrofoam in the water course.
I don't know if it's been removed yet. I said, I was there on 8/3 is when the last time I was on site. So what's happened since then, I don't know.
No, it's all. This is Frank Giuliani. It's all removed. We went in with hand tools. We removed any particles and any other silt that went in. I did an inspection every time it rains. I'm there. Today I did another inspection. Some silt got through the first silt fence, but the second silt fence, especially in that area that you had pointed out, held anything from going past the second silt fence. In some areas we actually have 3 layers of silt fence, but there was two areas that it got through a little bit. But you could see the only thing that got through was some silt, no styrofoam. You could see some of the styrofoam particles that are on the silt fence, like you see in the pictures, but nothing went past it into the wetlands.
This Commissioner Bassman, but didn't we understand that some of the styrofoam got into the DOT territory?
There's photographs.
So how do we come to then the assessment that nothing moved off site?
Question: When was that photo? I'm sorry. This is the first time that I see the photo. I'm sorry.
July 6th.
Frederick,
Oh, yeah.
I'm the wetland agent.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was-
know 100% of this picture was from July 6th or if it's from a July 6th dated letter. But from around that time frame. This was from the original, I think, order that was issued. It's my understanding that Heather did receive correspondence in between issuing the first order and sending the follow-up correspondence from when the commission first discussed this that indicated that styrofoam had been removed from the wetland. I don't know that we ever got the details on how it was removed from the wetland other than by hand. So I don't know if anyone on the call has some more information regarding that activity that occurred. But I know that there was some correspondence that indicated that there was removal from the wetland. We did not get into the wetland when we went out there last week. We looked at the site from within the limits of disturbance. So I didn't notice any styrofoam in the wetland, but I was viewing it from within the silt fence.
And if this was July, that was when we were using just the black net, and for that reason we had to change it to the green netting because we saw that it was still coming out.
So this is Commissioner Boda. So Mr. Vigliotti, you were saying earlier that wait, Jamie, can you pull that picture back up? That there was hand removal at the silt fence, and then the question was about the removal of the styrofoam in the water course, and then there was some back and forth about some correspondence about it. But can we just get some clarity on what happened here with the styrofoam that was in the water course?
I don't know where that picture is. The only styrofoam we removed was right around the silt fence, just past the silt fence, that was around the perimeter of our property. I don't know where that location is of that picture.
Yeah.
So, no
I
one
do
was.
recall seeing this shopping cart. I think this is near the outfall, somewhat near the outfall up by Route 1.
Well, if it's near Route 1 on the corner of our property, then yes, we removed. We went in there. I mean, we could walk it if you want. We could walk around it and see if there's any lingering stuff. But I don't know how far we can go or have jurisdiction to go. Oh yeah,
approximately in this area here.
That's all cleaned up. We cleaned all that out. Anywhere that's on the perimeter of our property, we cleaned out.
This is Commissioner Boda. So, Jamie, do you think we can get some more current photos from similar positions to just get some verification? I imagine water levels are probably in a different place, but unless Mr. Vigliotti, your folks have sent in
pictures. No, not of the. I don't know if BL has sent in or has any pictures. I haven't taken pictures to mimic that. I have pictures of silt fence when I need to, tell my contractor Freddie Russo to fix. Those are the only pictures I have of erosion controls. But I could certainly. I'm not in tomorrow, but early next week I could take pictures. So you think that was taken on the off-ramp side, like the 95 on-ramp, off-ramp side?
Yes, northbound.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
like I say, okay. I think I recall seeing the shopping cart.
Okay. I could take pictures on Monday and send them over to Jamie. From that angle.
Yeah,
No
if this
problem.
is the area, I think it is. I didn't see any styrofoam here when we were out there last week. Of course, at this point, it's quite possible the material has moved downstream. So we could try and, I'm sure Heather could try and have some updates, for the next meeting. Also address, so I would recommend that we would definitely want to move forward with the recommendations of the soil scientists to do any additional cleanup that's still outstanding. And then we can do a follow-up inspection. I do think that there has been a lot of improvements made on site for containment. So I think at this point we're kind of hopefully wrapping things up and dealing with what the impacts are at this point.
Can we also, this is Commissioner Boda, can we also just get an update on the southwest outlet and that stockpile?
Yes.
That's supposed to be covered? Because
So my understanding was that and I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know what was discussed. I didn't review the full discussion.
You watch a
But
video?
my understanding,
You didn't watch a video? It's a good time.
my understanding is there was a decent amount of time spent talking about it. And while I'm sure it was all good stuff, I only have so much time. But my understanding was that the millings that were on site, which have at this point by and large been removed and or were used under the base of the pavement that's down, was what was supposed to be covered. So at this point, we've got a little bit of topsoil and then we have some concrete for the most part being stockpiled on site. So are you looking for that to be covered as well?
This is Commissioner Boda. No, there was two concerns. And this is just going off of memory and the photos. One is that asphalt millings should not be straight exposed like that to rain. And two, that it was sitting virtually on top of a connected storm drain, which diaper or no diaper, that is not a place for a stockpile. So the stockpiles also were not matching what was on the site plan.
Yes. So a couple of points on that. One, yes, we talked about that stockpile location last week, and that it was, even though the pile was not on top of the catch basin at that point, it was still very close to on top of it and still had paths of approach that involved traversing over it, which was not ideal, to put it mildly. So we had talked about the fact that that pile should be moved. And my understanding was that it would be moved. I have to admit, I did not make it out there before this meeting, so I don't know if at this point it has been. We can definitely get an update on that. Frank, do you know if that pile has been relocated at this point? I know Fred said he was working on it.
I was not also at the meeting. I know there's no more millings. There's a concrete pile and then there's a topsoil pile. The topsoil pile has 2 rows of silt fence around it. I believe that was requested. But in terms of the location, and I'm not sure if the location it's currently at is what you guys want it to be at, or you want it to be moved. And I'm sorry,
Commissioner Boda,
Freddie Russo is not.
Just a point of clarification. I want to get away from language of us wanting. It's what was approved. So, stockpiles are approved to be in specific locations, and when they are put in different locations from where they're approved, that's when we end up talking about these things, because they're not approved to be right next to a storm drain. So it's not about our feelings, it's about doing what's on the plan.
I don't think I said anything
coming
about
in and getting the plan changed.
I don't think I said anything about feelings. I said I'm not sure what you're discussing what you guys want on different things. So
what we want,
whatever was discussed the last meeting.
Yeah. What
so
we
I
want
wasn't there.
is what's on the ground to match what's in your approved plan?
So Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I'm looking at pictures from July 31st. I went out to the site to meet with Frank and others, with Heather, on August 5th. And there were definitely significant improvements made at that time. But yeah, I definitely a follow-up visit was warranted to make sure that we're where we should be.
Mr. Commissioner, Jamie, when you were out there on the 31st, was the stockpile in the same location?
So I didn't go out on the 31st, I don't believe. I went out on August 5th. And yes, there was still a pile there, but it was smaller and the milling material had substantially been removed. I won't say there was no milling material. I don't recall seeing milling material, but I did see a couple of chunks of asphalt, that was not milled.
A smaller pile in a non-approved location, is that the bottom line?
So the bottom line I would say is, yeah, well, so on not approved location, but at the same time, on a site like this, I would say stockpiles aren't 100%. The stockpiles shown on the plan were not to scale. So I'm just going to mention that. However, there are certain expectations with stockpiles. So I would never expect a stockpile to be located on top of a catch basin. That's not acceptable. Nor would I expect a stockpile to be situated anywhere where approaches need to go over a catch basin. So I do think there's a little bit of wiggle room in where stockpiles are, but that wiggle room needs to be thought out and needs to be appropriate to the site conditions, which was not the case. And I would say was still not the case with that stockpile when I was out there, which was why we did talk about having that stockpile moved and or removed from the site. And I know that Fred said he was going to look to get that done in the next week or two, which at this point it has been a week and a day. So it definitely is worth a follow-up inspection.
Okay. This Commissioner Bassman, back to the styrofoam, what is the monitoring requirement that the applicant has here, given the fact that we still have, a building and a half of construction to still complete before the project, I guess, winds down?
2.5 buildings. We're on the second building, and then there's 2 more buildings after that.
Okay. So what is the monitoring activity regarding, especially the water course?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, we did receive document 9 in the Dropbox is EPS containment and cleanup plan, Branford, which does outline it outlines what the inspection process is. It does seem to focus largely on interior to the site. I don't know. That it specifically references wetland locations.
Essentially the measure of effectiveness is the fact that we have monitoring that would demonstrate that all of the work that's being done on site is being contained on site. And how do we know that unless there is some ongoing monitoring process?
Yeah, so they have a daily inspection, weather-related inspections, pre-work inspections. So let me share again. So essentially end of day, yes. So it says right in the end of day inspection, at the conclusion of each day, site supervisor shall inspect the active work area, containment measures, adjacent ground surfaces, drainage structures, and the area between the work zone and nearby wetlands or water courses. So I would say if they're checking in on a daily basis and they are considering the weather aspects of their plan, they should be noting if there's an impact and being able to resolve it before it becomes a problem.
And the inspection in terms of the feedback is a narrative? It's not pictures?
So I don't think that there's anything in here that necessarily requires reporting. If that's something the commission's interested in, that's something you should identify if you want that information to be provided to the enforcement officer.
That would be my desire.
This is Commissioner Wall. I know from personal life experience that if you're going through and inspecting every 2 hours and then doing both pre-work and end of day inspections, if you're not keeping some kind of a log, that's just going to become confused in your mind and would be really hard for us to review unless there's some kind of documentation.
Noted.
So, excuse me, should I create some kind of a daily, let's say, report or checklist report for inside and outside the perimeter of the scaffolding and check around the area of the perimeter of the wetlands around the area of the working area, so we can report and maintain a daily, let's say, some kind of review and record of what we did and what we saw, especially now with this weather that is kind of crazy and daily changes. So if that's something that you would like us to do, that's no problem. I will start doing it, and I will send you a blank report checklist to you for your review, and hopefully you review and send it to me, and hopefully you can approve it so we can start using that if that's what you would like me to do. I'm more than open to do it. As I say, I just want to do it right, and I don't want to affect any more wetlands.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, it sounds like that's what the commission would be looking for. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I would probably suggest that you have a daily inspection list. So you're doing your inspections daily and according to your plan here, and that you submit those reports on a weekly basis to the enforcement officer. That way you're not having to do it every single day. But we're getting a weekly update that you are doing that monitoring.
All right, so let me see. I'm away, but is it okay if I send you a blank sample or a blank report on Monday? Please review it and then send it back to me. I will do a daily inspection, and then at the end of every week or beginning of the next week, which will be Monday, I can send you all the logs of the daily report for the full week. Is that okay?
Seems reasonable to me. Does that work for the commissioners?
Yeah, that works.
Sounds like a good plan. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that's a good idea even for future projects.
Any other holdovers from our last discussion the commission left to ask or or offer suggestions? So is this another uphold and modify, Jamie?
So Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I think that we might be at a point where we just continue this with the understanding that we're going to be getting a sample report form on Monday, and then that we're going to be expecting daily inspections when the activity resumes, with them being submitted on a weekly basis. It sounds like we're looking to get confirmation that the site, the styrofoam on site has been cleaned up, in accordance with the recommendation from the soil scientist. Looking to get photos to confirm that there's no known existing styrofoam remaining in the wetland, and what we can see from it will be kind of difficult to get a full assessment, given the vegetation, at this point, but we'll see what we can get to confirm that. And confirmation that the stockpile has been fully relocated and is properly protected, and that catch basin is no longer in a situation that it should not be in. And then the other thing that I think was mentioned previously is that there are some minor site plan modifications from what the commission initially approved. It is 9:35. I don't know if the commission wants to run through that now, or if you want to formally put it on the agenda as a modification to the permit at the next meeting. I don't think any of the changes necessarily have a significant change to the overall plan. But I definitely want to make sure the commission has the opportunity to review them.
This is Commissioner Boda. I think I for one would prefer to see that earlier in a meeting. My brain is starting to get mushy by 9:30. And there are some members who aren't here that perhaps would be at the next meeting.
Okay. Given that we're continuing a couple other matters of this point, to the next meeting, I think that that's reasonable. Any questions from the property owner on what the commission's looking for moving forward?
No questions. I'll talk to Freddie tomorrow. I'll text him tonight just to make sure that the locations of the approved stockpile locations are what he ended up changing. And then on Monday, again, I'm not in tomorrow, so Monday I could try to take some pictures of the wetlands from the on-ramp location and send them over to you if you don't get to it before I do.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so we're going to continue this to the September. Nope, I'm jumping ahead to now August 27th.
27.
Right.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that, or we good to go here?
I think we're good to go.
Good to go. Okay. What do we have?
8 Orchard.
We got one other one, right? We have we have other business. Inland Wetland 250501 8 Orchard Avenue, replacement of a privately owned bridge. This is a consideration for the release of the erosion and sedimentation control bond.
Yes.
Or Olivia.
So we do have a statement from Heather that she has reviewed and recommends the full release of the bond. Her memo does not state the amount, so if you want that, just bear with me a moment while
I
look it
have
up.
the amount.
Thank you, Olivia.
I'll just put it in the chat just so it's written out. So I've written it out, but it's $1,871.87.
So I know we have a couple new commissioners, but this is something that we would request a motion for. If you have any questions, let us know.
Can I just
Once
make a
the site
motion?
has been stabilized, and the recommendation is provided generally, we're just looking for approval or any, questions commissioners might have that staff may not have thought of. So yes.
I make a motion that we release the bond for Inland Wetland 25.05.018 Orchard Ave based on the staff report in the amount of $1,871.87.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I second that motion.
Roll call vote, Commissioner Gokowski, how do you vote?
Goklowski, aye.
Commissioner Wall,
Commissioner Wall, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Bassman, aye. You know, there would have been zero reward on a prediction market that Commissioner Boda would have made that motion, given the fact that it's 9:40. Okay, nothing to report on the agent
I'm still
approvals.
here. Just for the record, it is 9:40 and I'm still here. That will not happen at the next meeting, so live it up. School starts.
Anything to conclude, Jamie?
Agent approvals, if you have any questions, let us know. Hyperlinks to the OpenGov system are there. That's all I've got.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn. Good night.
Good night, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.